had thought about doing a whole segment called White People's Business, okay? Because I feel like white people, and their business can be a whole, I want to be separate with things, okay? But I don't have time. So quickly, we are, I am a the Beckham family. I'm a fan of theirs. I used to like Posh back in the day because she was with the Spice Girls, whatever. Beckham, the Bendy like Beckham man or whatever. Okay, the kids. So to me, the Beckhams to me are like the Will and Jada over there. I'm saying, Will and Jada here is like the American. Over there, it's the Beckhams. Posh Beckham, David Beckham, the three kids, okay, their beautiful family. But I also always felt like they are very much on brand, just like Will and Jada used to be. Will and Jada were not very social media people, okay, because they come from old school. You don't really participate in the bullshit. So there are a lot of famous people who are older, you know, who they do want to have this little layer of protection between their real life, real drama at home, beef within the family, and that things, and then what the public views, oh, we're a happy couple, we have beautiful kids, or whatever. So hearing Victoria and David's son, Brooklyn, be like, man, fuck my family. I'm like, fuck the family. No, fuck the family. So Brooklyn Beckham, who was their oldest son, is accusing his parents of trying to sabotage his marriage to this girl. Now the girl he's married to, okay, she's like rich. Okay, her family's rich. I feel like her family like Trump people, whatever. I don't know. But his issue is I'm an adult now, and my whole life, my parents have only cared about, their image, and they've been controlling, and I'm tired of being controlled. Now, I 100% believe that for years, the Beckham family have protected their image, as does any other celebrity. Okay. I'm not surprised that he's saying my parents control the narratives. Okay. They love making things seem one way, even if that's not the truth. We're not, because truthfully, no family is 100% always amazing. Sometimes your kids piss you off and vice versa. You know, I know for a fact I pissed my mom off a lot of times in life. Okay. And once you are an adult, you do want some freedom, from whatever shield your parents have put up to protect their image. Okay. But I also think two things can be true. I think I think he's like 25, 26. This is his first marriage. You know what I'm saying? I do believe when you start to branch out on your own, you may feel like because your parents don't want people knowing y'all be beefing, you feel like they're trying to lie. It's like, no, it's just no one's business. You know what I'm saying? And you also want to be a person that when you get married, that's now your family. That's your wife is now your family. He's supposed to defend his wife. Period. The issue I have is none of this shit is our business. None of this shit is our business. And let's read a little bit, okay? I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Not if you're here now. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies they had printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. Now, again, he also has, I think, two siblings, like a brother and a sister. Again, he said, I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. Now, again, in my brain, I'm hearing, again, my parents, and let's be truthful, we would have no idea who Brooklyn was if his mama and daddy wasn't Posh and David Beckham. Okay, so we're not gonna fake like he is someone we knew. And it's like, no, you were born into this lifestyle of controlling the narrative for a celebrity. Okay, that's your cross to bear. Okay, and I think now that he's grown, he's 25, 26, he got this new white wife. Okay, it's like that. He wants to speak up his lady. Okay, and you don't have to reconcile with your family. Okay, but sometimes it's also not our business. He says, my entire life, our parents have controlled the narratives in the press about our family, which I believe. I think it's true. But there's a difference between controlling the narrative and lying about the narrative versus controlling the narrative because you don't want folks in your business. So if me and my husband beefing, we arguing, we fussing. Yes, I'm going to go to his event and smile because it's no one's business that we beefing. To me, that version of the narrative just means you're keeping people out your business. I don't have any issue with that. Okay. He then said the performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. Recently, I have seen with my own eyes the length that they will go through to place countless lies in the media. Not he's saying they lying on people. Okay, not saying it's not just them trying to protect their peace and their privacy. They're lying about what? He says recently, no. Oh, mostly at the expense of innocent people to preserve their own facade. But I believe the truth always comes out. Child, I don't care that much. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. Now, this is where I say, oh, what's about that white wife? Okay. And I'm saying white wife because I'm just being funny. Okay. If she was a black out, if she was that black wife, okay. This is my thing. When people start saying, "Oh, they're trying to ruin my marriage," to me that means they want their son under the bubble of Beckham's. He didn't find himself a little lady he loved, and they still want to control the narrative. So he feels they want to ruin my relationship. Okay, they've always hated my girlfriend, and now she's my wife. Okay, and it had to stop. My mom canceled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her design, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. I think she got like, let me see. Brooklyn Beckham wife wedding dress. I just wonder, she had a custom Valentino wedding dress. Let me let y'all know something. If somebody canceled something at the last moment, you know how impossible it is to get a last minute Valentino couture wedding dress, bitch. This is the wedding dress. I just feel like the dress is gorgeous. And Going from a Victoria Beckham dress to a custom made Valentino, bitch, you know how lucky you are? Valentino, girl, how much it cost? Anyway, my point is, my point is, again, his stance in saying, "Oh my God, my mom was supposed to make the dress," and then my thing is this also: if your mama don't like her, and you know how your family is, I would not even want my future wife to use my mama as the seamstress. I know my mama. That's like if you know your daddy is an alcoholic, okay? And if he get drunk, he not gonna make it to the function. Don't make your drunk daddy the driver, because you ain't gonna get there. Somebody, the fact that he know how his parents are, I would not have even let my mom make the dress. Cause my mom on bullshit. Okay. But again, at the 11th hour, she was forced to find. Now she found a Valentino dress. Okay. Come on now, Regine and Max from Living Single. Okay. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which would have affected me, my wife, and our future children. Meaning, the Beckham brand is the Beckham brand. The same. You have the Carters, you have hell, the Obamas. You have people where the name, the Paris Hilton in them, Kardashians in them. You have these families who their name is a brand, and you don't want someone coming in and profiting from a brand you've built for 30 years because your son is in love with this lady. At the same time, parents, you can't want to pigeonhole your children and not having their own life, their own lineage, their own thing too. You know what I'm saying? So I can't 22. Him saying they try to force me to sign away my name. They named you. They named you. You know what I'm saying? They named you. So it's when Blue, remember when Blue was born and we heard about like Beyonce and them trademarking the names when it were like the child, the Carter did that, the Kardashians, a lot of people trademark the name because people will try to do stuff in the name of the kids. So again, I don't know. It's a catch-22. If your parents have already built brands in your name that they've been doing for years, it kind of would make sense if they don't want to allow your new wife to have access to what they've already trademarked, patented, built off of. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't think that his parents should have all the rights to it. But if it's a conversation business wise about, hey, okay, Brooklyn Beckham, I'm, what's her? I'm Victoria Beckham. Your dad is David Beckham. We are the Beckhams, and your new wife can't access the Beckham brand yet. So legally, your namesake is already a brand that's with us. So it's again, that's that when business shit gets into the weeds of family, new marriages, new people. It's hard. It's a hard thing. But him saying they tried to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name would have affected me, my wife, and our future children. Meaning they did not want to give that lady, that new wife, the Beckham brand because she's now the Beckham. You know what I'm saying? If she went from Nicola Slisvowski, I don't know what her name is, okay, to Nicola Beckham, and she then has have Beckham children, she could then profit from the Beckham brand. Like with Black China and Dream is the only Kardashian baby. Rob has the only child that is a Kardashian. That was a whole thing. So I can understand it. Okay. They were adamant on me signing before my wedding day because then the terms of the deal will be initiated. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since. During the wedding planning, my mom went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny, Sandra, and Nicola's nanuni at our table because they both didn't have their husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours. Now, hold on, Brooklyn Beckham. Hold on. Hold on. Because if it's a wedding and you put your nannies at your table and your parents are at a separate table, but your nannies, even though your nannies probably raised you put your nannies at your table. To me, as the mom, I would feel some kind of way. I would. If the nanny husbands ain't there, cool. Put them hold at the same table together. They can be side by side. I would, as a mom, I would be pissed if at my son's wedding, my oldest son, the first wedding in our family, that you have me, your mom, and your dad at a different table, would you put your nanny? I would feel some. Why can't the nanny be at our table? I paid her. I'm like, why? Why she can't sit with us? Why she can't sit with y'all? But again, if the nanny raised them, but I would be like, wait, hold up now, hold. Okay, but the fact that he said, oh, because they didn't have their husbands, why couldn't they sit together? But I digress. Okay, um, the night before our wedding, members of the family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Well, who said that? Well, who said that? Again, if your family don't like your new person that's gonna be your spouse, it's gonna be bullshit. Once you know who paid for the wedding, because her family is rich. But did the Beckhams put any money in? Because the night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Now she may not be blood, but she gonna be family. You know what I'm saying? But when you know when your family don't like your person, it's gonna be drama. That is what it is. Okay. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they utterly blocked me out of nowhere this last summer. So damn, the brothers, you beefed out with the brothers too. How many kids? Let's see, how many kids they got? Victoria is the Victoria Beckham and David Beckham kids. How many kids is it? Well, there are four. Brooklyn was born in 99. Romeo was born in 2002. Cruz was born in 2005. And Harper was born in 2011. They have four children. So the brothers didn't block you? That's both of your brothers blocked you. My mom hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, in a romantic love story. No, in advance in a romantic love song in front of her. Now, hold on, hold on. because I had seen, was it on TikTok? Because I kept hearing the story. See, this is why I wanted this to be a separate video. Why he was business, because it's too much. However, I remember hearing, I think I saved this. Oh, yep, it's right here. Hold on, y'all. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So DJ Fat Tony, who DJ'd the wedding, because folks kept on saying, "Oh, Victoria Beckham had some inappropriate dancing. It was an inappropriate moment at the wedding that made him so sad." So the DJ man is telling y'all what happened.
Was the DJ at the wedding. It wasn't a one-day wedding, it was a 3-day wedding. I did the welcome party, then I did the wedding, and then I did a brunch on the Sunday, which was the most awkward part of it all, because everything that had gone on the actual wedding night was discussed amongst all the guests the next morning. But Mark Anthony was performing on stage.
Not Mark Anthony. So was the Mark Anthony part?
He then called Brooklyn onto stage. So Brooklyn went onto the stage, where the next minute everyone was expecting it to be Nicola to go up and do the first dance. And then Mark Anthony asks the most beautifulest woman in the room to come to the stage. And then he says, "Victoria, come to the stage." So Victoria.
Now, first of all, if Mark Anthony went up on stage, if Mark Anthony asked for Victoria to come up there, then ain't he the one that, how are you blaming Victoria? Ain't it Mark Anthony's fault?
Victoria's by the stage, she goes onto the stage. And of course, at that point, Brooklyn's like suddenly literally devastated, because he thought he was going to do his first dance with his wife. Then Nicola.
Where's the wedding planner? Okay, because most folks have a wedding planner that say, okay, this is the order of service. You have the wedding, the pictures, the cake cutting, the first dance of the couple, the father of the bride dance with the band, the mother of the groom, and all that shit. Like, where is the damn wedding planner?
Leaves the room crying her eyes out. Brooklyn's stuck there on stage, and then they do this dance, and Mark Anthony's like, "Go, put your hands on your mother's hips," and it was a Latin, it's a Latin thing, and the whole.
Again, shouldn't we be blaming Mark Anthony? Now, also, I don't want to hip dance with my parent at my wedding, but it's like, did Mark Anthony make this up? Did Victoria ask this to be done? Like, who was in charge?
The situation was really awkward for everyone in the room. And I've done an awful lot of Beckham parties in the past, and they're a very dancey, close-knit family. They love to dance, right? So, what we deem as inappropriate is not how Brooklyn feels. Yes, this is all about how Brooklyn feels. If he felt it was inappropriate and awkward, then it was inappropriate.
It seems like it happened in the spur of the moment.
It really was.
So it's so difficult to deem what is inappropriate at a wedding.
And I think what's sad is that this is the bit that everybody's taken from this statement. They've kind of whitewashed everything else that went on.
Like, what the fuck else, girl? At this point, have a whole new wedding. Okay, because at this point, if it was a 3-day event, they get all this stuff, and Brooklyn's upset, the wife's upset. To me, it feel like, why did y'all have this huge wedding with 400-500 guests, and it seems as if there was no real plan, no real idea. This would happened. And I'm not dancing with my parent at my wedding if I see my wife runs off crying. So I feel like there is this wave of everybody at fault. The parents are at fault. The kids is at fault. Mark Anthony is at fault. You know what I'm saying? So a part of me feel like it was a shit show to begin with. And when the guy said how, oh, whatever happened on day one, everybody was discussing on day two, meaning it was a shit show from the beginning. And I would have been like, you know what, husband, I don't want this. I don't want this. Once your marriage turns into a fiasco of a wedding, which is just a party for other motherfuckers, you not even focus on what's supposed to be the point. I don't want my mom to make the dress. I don't need Mark Anthony singing songs and have me, salsa dance with my mama. I don't want any of that. So I'm like, who the fuck? And where's her parents? Because if my daughter is crying at her wedding, I'm finna fight your daddy and your mama. Period. So he did say, Mark Anthony called me to the stage where in the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance to my wife, but my mom was there with me. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my whole life. We wanted to renew our vows so we could create new memories of our wedding day that brings us joy, happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. You need to do that. And I am all for people creating strong boundaries between their parents and their family, meaning your wife, your husband, I'm saying, your own family. You have to create that space. And there's nothing wrong with him wanting his own life with his wife, and that being that. But the transition from the controlling entity to no longer controlling anything is going to be a hard pill. Now, he also goes by Brooklyn Peltz Beckham. It seems as if he has adopted his wife's name. The same way that I think Jay-Z and Beyonce they're both, Knowles Carters. I think Jay-Z, I believe they said Jay-Z changed his name to, it might have been a rumor. I don't know. But again, he is Brooklyn Peltz Beckham now. He said, my wife has been consistently disrespected by my family, no matter how hard we try to come together as one. My mom has repeatedly invited women. Oh, hold up. My mom has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both, girl, is this monster-in-law? Bitch, this is the monster-in-law movie with J-Lo and Jane Fonda and Wanda Sykes. Because Jane Fonda did not want her son being with Jennifer Lopez shot and whatever. Girl, this is... Despite this, we still traveled to London for my dad's birthday, and we were rejected for a week as we waited in our hotel room trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all our attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face later. It was a slap in the face. Later, we and my family traveled to LA. They refused to see me at all. At this point, your family don't like your wife for whatever reason, okay? And because they don't like her and they don't like you siding with her, they're also like, get away from us. It feel like they want to be around you and not her, which is unfair to him as the new husband because that's his wife. I think they've been married since like 2002. He said, my family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and post for a family photo op. Even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations, we've gone out of our way for years to show up and support at every fashion show, every party, and every press activity to show our perfect family. But the one time my wife asked for my mom's support to save this face dog during the LA fires, my mom refused. Child, not fuck the dogs. Not forget the dogs. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I've been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety for the first time in my life since stepping away from my family. The anxiety has disappeared. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and I have found peace and relief. And if that's true, stop going over there. If that's true, stop going over there. If your mom and dad are these manipulative, fame hungry, media sucking, attention seeking individuals, and if that fucks up your mental, then don't go over there. If you know how they are, don't go over there. Now, um, David was at some event and was talking about, kids talking online.
What I've found personally, especially with my kids as well, use it for the right reasons. I've been able to use my platform and my following, for UNICEF. And it's been the biggest tool to make people aware of what's going on around the world for children. And I've tried to do the same. I've tried to do the same with my children to educate them. They make mistakes. Children are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. So that's what I try to teach my kids. But, you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well. But
So I'm not picking either side. I feel like Brooklyn has every right to have his own life and not feel smothered, attacked, and harassed by his family. At the same time, if his family don't like the wife, then don't deal with the wife. But you have to know that comes with possibly not seeing your son. So it's a catch-22. But I also don't blame celebrities who have always tried to control the narrative. As long as you're not, this is my rule. As long as nobody is actively physically hurting someone, I don't care if y'all not really this lovey-dovey. I don't care if y'all not this close-knit family. I don't care. To me, people smiling for the camera is just that. Unless you telling me that at the house your mom and daddy be beating your ass, they're mean, they're abusive, they are mentally and emotionally attacking you on a regular basis, that's different. But the point of it being they are professional people who like to control their narrative. I don't care. And I also feel like as when you get that first piece of a person that makes you want to step away from your way of life, the people who have known you for so long don't like that person. They feel like you're changing because of that person. So I really want to see where they are in 10 years. Will if in 10 years he feels, well, yeah, my parents were shitty people. And I'm still happy with her. And I don't feel controlled by my wife. You know what I'm saying? Then cool. Okay. Again, they got married in 2022. So this one they've been married for 3 years, roughly. Well, yeah, 3. It's just 2026. So I'm like, let's see where their marriage is, at year 5. Victoria and David have been together, 30 years? Since I was, girl, forever, if you ask me. Marriage is hard. Having kids is hard. Being a celebrity and the amount of fame they had at the height of their careers was insane. Okay, was insane. The amount of paparazzi and people on it was insane back then. I can fully see them trying to be a bubble because I remember all the shit back then going on. And I want to try to recognize they probably do have a narrative they want to build. However, family won't always get along, and that's normal. But I don't feel smiling for the cameras to not let people into your personal life issues are you lying to the people, because no one wants to know that child Barack and Michelle fight when Barack don't put the toothpaste cap back on the thing. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to know. Child, we didn't know that Denzel Washington was on them drugs when he was with Pauletta. We didn't know about there's so we didn't know about with Jada. You know what I'm saying? There is so much, even as regular people. When you go to work, you don't want your boss, your coworker knowing my husband got pissy drunk and pissed the bed. Because that's you know what I'm saying? You don't want them to know that your son child got in trouble in school, got kicked out. You know what I'm saying? There are things that regular people have in their life that you don't put on your social media. If your kid get into a fight at school, you ain't gonna post that on there, but you will post him smiling at graduation. You're not gonna post your husband cheated on you that one time in '96, but you let it go. And now you know what I'm saying, you no one. So I'm realistic in knowing there's a difference between keeping your private business to yourself and letting your public persona be your public persona without all the little itty bitty details. Now don't be lying about everything. You know what I'm saying? But it's a fine line in that. That's why I'm private. But y'all know shit. I am private, but y'all know some things. But that's it. You know what I'm saying? And when kids stop being kids and they're now adults with their own thoughts and their own comments and their own feelings, and the shit start leaking out all over the press, it's like, whoa, really? You know what I'm saying? That's what this is. But I hope there's a way for them all to eventually come together, bitch. Okay. But y'all, that's all of white people's business. Again, this is why I said this should have been. I'm gonna probably make this a separate video. Okay, probably. You know, yes, some stuff is not our business at all. You know, and I also agree as well. You do have to respect the decisions all the way around. But that also includes if the family business is a brand, you can't think that when you marry somebody, they are just added to the brand easily. That may not be true. When Candy and Todd was girl, look, that's why people are so cautious about who they allow in their life. Because if you are a $1 billion brand, okay, and you marry someone and now they are part of that $1 billion brand, they have access to all this shit. It becomes a professional business conversation. And sometimes family won't like that. They will feel like, well, because of your mom, you should just do what I want to. You should do what I want you to do. And the kid will feel like, well, because I'm grown now, you should let me do it. It's both. It's both. It's both. Okay. Anyway, y'all. What's next? White people, white people. This is some white people stuff. Anyway, I hope they fix it. I do. And I hope the marriage works.